Greetings to you. We are the Andromedans. We have come to you from a far corner of the universe, which you call the Andromeda Nebula. This is a separate galaxy numbering hundreds and thousands of other civilizations besides ours. Of course, you might wonder what interest or necessity made us to be near you. In order to explain this, we first want to tell you the history of our civilization. Once upon a time we were a civilization that exists in a three-dimensional world. We also had technologies similar to many of yours, in the creation of which we and you basically relied on the use of natural resources that you had. We learned to accumulate the energy of stars, collecting valuable components that exist in dust particles. At that time, our development was very calm, there were enough resources for everyone, and our technology never there were military objectives, as there was no reason for conflicts. We liked the information development and the creation of new materials with unusual properties that are useful for our life. But at some point we seem to have exhausted all the ideas, and our the process of exploring the possibilities of our world stopped. We did not know what to do, and decided to turn to the study of the physical features of the surrounding worlds. For this, we created spacecraft and special research modules, and many of us went on trips via for vast distances. It took some time, and we found around us a large number of other civilizations, at about the same level of development as ourselves. Most of the found civilizations differed from ours because their planets had significantly fewer natural resources. They had to invest almost all of the available energy in military development in order to seize access to new sources. For a while we kept in touch with them, and even often shared our developments. Unfortunately we did not immediately realize what a fatal mistake was made then. By establishing a connection with them, our new friends gathered information about our natural resources, and also, seeing that we did not have weapons, immediately attacked us. In this military campaign many civilizations took part, united in the desire to divide our resources among themselves, and we were absolutely helpless before their onslaught. After a short time we were completely conquered, and only a few of us were able to hide from the attackers on the spacecraft. The invaders were interested in making money, the unique components contained in the dust particles. They did not chase after those who managed to escape, because there were more than enough slaves who would extract the most valuable resources for them. Those who managed to run away, we had to hide, and we managed to find refuge on one of the planets, far from our world, scarce in its reserves, and therefore not of interest to others. We really wanted to help our loved ones in captivity, and we tried to find at least some opportunity. All that we could imagine made no sense. We had no experience in creating weapons, and in numbers we were significantly inferior to our opponents. We were confused and were completely confused. And when it seemed no hope it was no longer. Suddenly we began to receive new information from our teachers. They spoke amazing and strange words for us. They said that all those terrible events that occurred were very favorable for our development. We were outraged, really, that our loved ones were captured could to be favorable. The teachers kept their point of view, saying that our relatives were not killed, and we ourselves were free and could act. With this we could agree. They could convince us that creating weapons for a retaliatory attack would be ineffective, and they asked us to internally forgive the aggressors for their aggression. Of course, it was difficult for us to do this, but we had no choice. The most interesting thing started. The teachers started transmitting new ideas to us that are useful for creating new technology. We did not have the capabilities as before, to create our technologies, relying on the extraction of resources, because they simply did not exist. Therefore, we had to choose a different path of development. Teachers gave us the necessary knowledge that allowed us to increase our vibrations. In practice, we had to switch the focus of our attention, and we began to look for energy sources not in the physical world, but at higher frequencies. By switching our attention from the physical plane to a more subtle one, we found that at this level the whole world around us is full of energy. It does not even need to be mined. It is everywhere around. Having learned this, we concentrated on rebuilding the processes in our lives in such a way that their frequency would increase. Observing, we were surprised to pay attention to the nature of the planet on which we lived. Its processes existed precisely at those frequencies that we needed. We began to examine and study them from an energetic point of view. We want to make a reservation that we did not need to take anything from her. The task was to find those mechanisms that could raise our vibrations. And thanks to the support of the teachers, as well as a great desire to help our loved ones, we were able to do it quickly enough. We discovered new possibilities of our body that allowed us to enter into unusual emotional states. We learned how to press an invisible button and launch intensive processes in our body. We have rebuilt our physiological features. We begin to feel the subtle energy fields around us and were able to interact with them. We were able to transfer most of our vital energy to the level where these fields exist. At a new level of vibrations, with the support of our teachers, we built ourselves new bodies and built from scratch all the conditions for a new life. We almost instantly created technologies for movement in space, and also built special fields that could to protect us from low frequencies, which created a certain dissonance at that level. At some point, our physical bodies that existed in the third dimension have already ceased to bear any meaning for us. And we completely transferred all our life energy to a new level. On the physical plane it was like a collective death. Everything stopped, our houses and spaceships were abandoned, and our invaders, at some point, still finding the planet on which we sheltered, fully convinced that we died from a lack of resources and lost all interest in us. We also had the opportunity to help our loved ones acting at higher frequencies. We turned to their consciousness on those vibrations at which they could see and hear us, but at the same time were completely inaccessible to other civilizations. You have no idea how joyful they were, again finding contact with us. By the time they were exhausted physiologically and emotionally, the access to the reality in which we existed opened with our helped them, as it were, to feed on the energy with which it was filled. However, they still did not have the strength to restructure their processes. Therefore, for some time they had to stay where they were, gradually rebuilding their physiological processes. It was not easy. Our loved ones needed to hide their joy and calmly continue their hard labor. Our invaders saw that their slaves were staying in Nippania much half asleep, making them work. They used cruel methods, acting on them with low-frequency vibrations. Fortunately, our protective fields helped our loved ones. Their life processes were safe, and any impact on their physical body no longer had the strength. Our loved ones ceased to depend on them. At some point, the representatives of our civilization who were in captivity were fully trained, and we helped them to transfer all their life energy to a new level. Of course, we did it not immediately, so as not to challenge AM's suspicion of invaders. We made sure that they thought they had died physically from some unknown disease to them. But the higher vibrations, it was a happy moment of the reunification of our entire civilization. What is our civilization now like? We live in the same place where we lived, at higher frequencies. Nearby are those who once captured us, but they do not interfere with us at all. Those technologies that we have gained help us to maintain harmony with the natural environment. Besides, we have learned to maintain a balance in its processes. For us, this is a new goal, and a very pleasant task. We have learned to act skillfully at the level of subtle energy fields, at levels that give rise to all natural phenomena in three-dimensional reality. Our former invaders, drawing on natural resources, derive about conk natural system from balance. We, helping nature, restore general harmony. Recently, their civilization faced a big problem. They practically exhausted those natural resources that they had captured. And now they have a choice: either they will start again a grand war with each other to seize resources, and their flimsy alliance may fall apart, or they will choose the opportunity to move to higher frequencies, as we did. We have already contacted many of them, and they are ready to act our support. In fact, we are let us teach teachers for them, helping them to create a completely new approach to technology. The same teachers, like those who came to us once, and we happily start to fulfill this mission. At the level of reality we are at, we can instantly travel long distances, and therefore are very close to you. Recently, we began closer cooperation with the Earth forces in order to support you and your planet. Andromedians,